welcome to the last ever episode of the world's greatest Spidey podcast. Here comes the Spidercast. I am your co-host Mike L, and as always I'm joined by
Joshua Mervell, and today for our final episode, we're going to be taking a look at the end of December of 1989 in Spidey Comics.
That's right, and as usual, we are joined by G.I. Jolie. Woo!
Yay! Usually hasn't been making it, but here she is.
Just force of habit for me to say that. Also joined by Bex Luthor.
I also haven't been here in a while, but
That's
I was having a mental health crisis, and I'm better. I'm okay.
That's
Excellent.
Less in crisis than I was. Remember, kids, take time off.
That's
Don't
right.
work yourself, otherwise then you can't do the things that are fun because you're too busy crying all the time. Spider-Man. Anyway, what's going on?
Anyway, okay. Spidey time. As everyone knows, we do record this ahead of time, so it's actually January 2nd right now. This episode will air, I think, the 9th? No, the week after the 9th. So, yeah, it's kind of like...
16th? Yeah.
16th, something like that. We can't do math, but anyway. So this
It's
is
the birthday. That's all that matters.
So here's the thing. We're reviewing the last month of 1989, which is the end of the 80s, which is the end of the friendly neighborhood parameters of this podcast. Coincidentally, it's also the month before Todd McFarlane left Amazing Spider-Man. Another thing that happened in the exact same month was Rob Liefeld began on New Mutants. So this is kind of like a transitionary time for comics, for good or ill, right? So this is like the real end of the Bronze Age and the beginning of the, well, whatever you want to call it, the Image Age or whatever. So we are... hold on. I was about to jump into reviewing comics, but I have a special announcement to make. Would you guys like to know what I discovered?
How dare you?
Look at this, guys. Can you see this? Okay, all the people at home only listening are enjoying this right now, because right now I'm holding up a piece of paper with all kinds of tiny writing on it, and the subtitle to this is How I Spent the Summer of, my entire high school career. This is my list of Spidey comics from when I was a teenager. Every number, every writer, artist on every issue, what happened, and it's about 20 pages thick. Okay?
Jesus.
Wow.
And this is what I used to do with my free time, is document what happened in every issue, okay?
In between, like, kissing girls, right?
Exactly, yeah.
When I could, yeah.
Sometimes both at the same time.
Exactly. Well, this is how I got girls to kiss me,
Yeah,
obviously.
right?
Yeah.
Show them
Sometimes one in each
Just
hand.
pull out your manifesto.
I mean, hey, once they saw the detail in this database, I mean, there was no stopping them, right? Like, look at this. Spider Slayer appearance, Spider Woman appearance, Hobby. I even had nicknames instead of Hobgoblin, Hobby. Like, this is all right here. This is like a very valuable database.
This is
Hobby.
very cute. I love this.
Thank
That's
you.
amazing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So there you go. I did find it. I've been talking about it the whole time we've done the podcast, and I did actually manage to find it. So there you go. It still exists.
Did your parents have it, or like where was it?
No, I had it like in one of my plastic bins in like my house. They just have never been unpacked. So yeah.
That's cool.
Wait, you
So
should
what
frame
does
it.
it go up to?
What's that?
Does it cover all of the 80s, or like what is your list
Okay.
cover?
Cool. It like the real detailed stuff is pretty much all the Hobgoblin stuff, okay? Starting around when Hobgoblin appears. And then the list runs out at Amazing 339, Spectacular 168, and Web 68. So around September
82?
90. September 90.
92? 90.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I started to lose interest a little bit, coincidentally. So
When did the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man run start? Like the Spider-Man, the 90s Spider-Man.
Oh, Spider-Man?
Yeah.
It was probably soon
90,
after
90,
this.
I believe.
Yeah, I was like, was it September 1990? When Mike was like, absolutely not, and just threw the list.
No, but I did buy those religiously. It's just that I was like, I remember walking to the bus stop every day and thinking, okay, now I need to get Spectacular Spider-Man 104, with the Wasp. And like, this was when my obsession began with collecting comics. And it ended about a year ago. So, yeah, you saw it in real time. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, we don't You don't obsess over comic books at all anymore.
Not at all. I've been cured. So anyway,
yeah, that's why we have a podcast.
Back to the Spider-Man comic book
and
podcast.
by the way, we'd also like to announce that starting next week, we'll be doing 2 new podcasts, actually 3, all dedicated to comic books, so be sure to join us. Anyway, let's jump into reviews of Spidey comics. This week's first choice is... what is
choice.
It's Web
Nobody
of Spider-Man
chose.
number 59, featuring Puma and Titania.
Yeah.
As always, I'll be
Yeah, it
recapping Web of.
Right.
It's another chapter in the Acts of Vengeance saga. So in this Acts of Vengeance saga, to recap what's been going on so far, a bunch of villains in Marvel's Rogues Gallery is are teaming up together, and they're swapping good guys to fight each other. So hopefully they'll have better luck if Dr. Doom fights Spider-Man instead of Reed Richards, or Kingpin is going to go fight She-Hulk or something like that. So they're kind of swapping all of the villains for different villains, and hopes that there's going to be some sort of better result at the end. I believe it's the Wizard. What's his name? Wizard, right?
The Wizard,
Yeah.
yes.
The Wizard, that's it.
Yeah, he's the mastermind behind all of this. So he's recruited Dr. Doom, Kingpin, Magneto, and those are the 3 main guys. And throughout all of it, they've also been hiring other supervillains to kind of join them for one-off battles. And also, while this has been going on, there was a science experiment, or so Peter thinks it was a science experiment, that altered his DNA, that has given him pretty much every single superpower you can possibly imagine. And as these books are going on, he's just gaining more and more abilities. Mm-hmm. So I think as of now, he's got energy blasts that he can do from his hands. He can manipulate his webs to form different objects. So I believe last week we talked about him forming his webs into a hand that he was able to actually form and grab different things. He's also got crazy vision. Not just it's like spider sense for his eyes, essentially. He can see things from really far away, and he can kind of see them almost before they happen. I don't know if maybe that's working with his spider sense or not. But he's got all of these different powers, and then through these books, he's gaining more. He can fly now, and he's, bulletproof. I don't know, whatever. He's got all of these different powers. Also, around this time, I always forget his first name. Ironheart. Not Ironheart. Thomas Fireheart.
Fireheart, yeah.
He's taken over the Daily Bugle, so he's now the owner, and JJ has been kicked out. I think that's pretty much it. Robbie Robertson is kicking around, and he's finally been found after him and Tombstone escaped the prison, and that trial has been going on recently, and his lawyer is back in the picture and is trying to get him pardoned. So a lot's going on right now, all while this Acts of Vengeance storyline is happening. So that's kind of the backstory of what's been going on. And we get that right at the start of this issue. We kind of get a recap of Spidey having to face the fact that he's got all of these new powers, and it's just kind of weighing on him way more than it normally does, because with way more powers comes way more responsibility.
Sounds like a catchy tagline to me.
Right. So that's kind of what he's explaining to MJ right now as he swings off of their apartment roof, and I think Peter Parker's got to go to something. He has an appointment at the Daily Bugle because Thomas Fireheart is doing some sort of announcement or something. So we cut over to Dr. Doom. He is spying on, or not spying, he's watching Titania train in one of her facilities, and she is a little bit shaken up from last time she fought Spider-Man. So when Dr. Doom suggests that she joins his team to kind of fight people she normally doesn't. She's a little bit scared, so she actually has a phobia of Spider-Man. So what he does is he plants a chip on her, which gets rid of her fears, apparently. So then she finally agrees and goes on this crazy rampage and tries to find Spider-Man. Also, now my dog is squeaking his squeaker toy.
Here, of course.
I thought that's what I heard.
Yeah, why don't you play with this one for now, because it doesn't have a squeaker. Go.
And I'll fill time by talking about the flexograph color process used for this issue. No, go ahead, Josh.
Oh, okay. So after we see Titania burst out of the facility and head right towards New York to get Spider-Man, we see Dr. Doom kind of again mention that Spider-Man has grown way more powerful, and these new abilities might come into play later on. He can hopefully use them for his own plans. So we come back to the Bugle. Thomas Fireheart is talking about how they're going to be switching up how they talk about Spider-Man in the headlines, and they are no longer going to be calling him a menace. They're going to treat him like a hero, and everybody in the Bugle is kind of mixed about this. Joy Mercado in particular is kind of upset because JJ is wrong for being so biased and talking about Spider-Man as a villain. But it's just as biased to ignore all of that and just prop him up as a hero when they don't really know everything about Spider-Man. So there's a little bit of tension going on right now. And while all of these announcements are happening, we see Titania burst through and she's screaming, looking for Spider-Man. They obviously know how to find him, so she's there. Thomas, Mr. Fireheart sees this, and before changing into Puma, he knocks out Joy, who is in his office.
It's Kate Cushing.
Oh, Kate. I'm sorry. Thank you. Knocks out Kate Cushing, who is in his office. He transforms into the Puma, as we all know is his alter ego. And he jumps out and starts fighting Titania, but is immediately just thrown out of the building. And in that time, Peter was able to turn into Spider-Man and saves Fireheart Puma and puts him over onto a building. And then essentially we get this big punching match between Spider-Man and Titania. She punches him off of the building. She like pins him to the ground in the street and throws him up against a flagpole and is ripping up the road and throwing it at him, smashing him into cars. Like all of this like huge fight's happening. Thomas actually gets back up and is able to scratch Titania, which rips off the inhibitor chip that is taking her fear away. And we get this quick moment of her scared of Spider-Man for just a moment, and then realizing that, no, I'm not actually scared of you. I've been fighting you for 20 minutes and nothing's changed. So they start punching each other again. And then Spider-Man isn't able to hold back his new powers that he's received, and he blasts her with this like energy beam, which like knocks her through a bunch of buildings and completely knocks her out. We cut over to him as he's looking up and seeing Katzenberg with his like crazy super vision, and he's like, oh shit, I can't believe I wasn't able to hold back, and she's completely knocked out now. I don't know what I'm gonna do. We see that Dr. Doom has been watching all of this on his like Doombot surveillance cameras, and we're kind of left on a cliffhanger there to see what's gonna happen next in the next chapter of the Acts of Vengeance storyline. Yeah.
Okay, so before we go any further, because I know that, Becca, you've missed a few episodes, but have you talked about Acts of Vengeance yet?
No, but I have read it all.
Okay.
Up to this point, at least. Like, I did read all the comics, I just didn't come on the show.
Okay.
That's how we do things. Like I said, wasn't feeling good. Feeling better now, but I did read all the Spider-Man comics, so I know what was going on. And I know about the Acts of Vengeance because of it being dumb, and I heard of it before. So that's fun. I think the Red Skull's involved, but I don't know if he's in any of these issues.
Yeah, I don't know if he is either, but he's involved somehow. You're right.
Yeah, because what I know about Acts of Vengeance before coming into like the Spider-Man version is 1, Spider-Man gets these cool powers, and 2, Magneto and Red Skull have it outs because you have a Nazi trying to work with a Holocaust survivor. Good job, Marvel. So I know what's been going on. Have I been enjoying it? Not particularly.
Right.
Unfortunately, for the end of the Spider-Cast, the Acts of Vengeance is not the grandest of events. It's not as bad as Secret Wars, but it's boring.
It's going out with a whimper rather than a bang.
I was gonna say that. And isn't Loki is involved too, right? I don't know how much.
Oh, you know what's funny? That brings back a memory. Can I share my quick memory?
Yeah.
My friend remembers when they revealed that Loki was secretly behind the Acts of Vengeance, and he was so excited because he's like, this is going to make Thor so popular. And me and my friend were like, no, it's not. It didn't work. This was back when Thor was at the very bottom of the popularity, charts in Marvel. So anyway.
Yeah, then you just make him Chris Hemsworth, and all of a sudden, everyone cares about Thor.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it is Loki, but I don't know if he's in any of the Spider-Man related issues because it spans most of like the Avengers and some X-Men and stuff too, right?
I think it affected everything as far as I remember.
Right. Yeah, just it's like Inferno, but like.
Right.
I don't know. You would think with all of these bad guys teaming up, it would be a little bit more interesting, but right now they're just like sending goons to fight people.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, Titania can't beat She-Hulk, so I guess she'll beat Spider-Man. Like, just send Doctor Doom.
Spoiler alert, we're not going to be getting to the end of this.
Yeah, like not in this podcast.
Storyline, not in this podcast.
Maybe in the future.
Which is unfortunate, because the end's cool.
Oh, okay. That's good to know, because unfortunately this storyline doesn't make me super excited to get to the ending of it. So I was going to say, like, I'll definitely read the Wikipedia page for this, but I don't know if I would continue this storyline on my own so far.
Well, okay, so G.I. Jolie, do you know anything about Acts of Vengeance?
I know that it sucks.
That's all you need to know. Yeah,
I mean, this in particular is like, it doesn't suck. It's just like okay, and it's like Becca said, it's just kind of boring. Sorry.
I think the key thing is whenever you think about a famous storyline, like whatever it may be, like Dark Phoenix Saga or Born Again, they're always coming out of an interesting idea or like a character arc. But what is this story? It's let's switch opponents and fight different superheroes. It's like it might as well be Survivor Series, right? It's
the one thing that I did find interesting, the most interesting about this is like Fireheart is the editor-in-chief of the Daily Bugle. Like, that is the drama that I'm here for. Yes. The fact that he's ousted JJJ and, like, the whole team is in chaos, except for, like, they're writing really awesome stories about Spider-Man instead of writing garbage nonsense that's not real about Spider-Man. So, like, that's more interesting to me than the Doctor Doom Titania stuff.
Right. I think the big problem with this, I think it's a really interesting idea. I just don't think that they put any thought into which villain should be fighting which hero. I think getting like a Brainiac to fight Reed Richards and outsmart him is like a fun idea, or getting somebody who is more like or less of a street level hero, maybe somebody more like Galactic or something like that, can come in and fight Spider-Man because he's so used to being street level. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to this switch up. It's just kind of like a way to bring in other characters into Spidey comics to advertise that there's other comics going on at the same time. So I think that is why this is so crummy.
Well, also, if you were going to have a surprise villain in Spider-Man, Titania is the last person I would ever think of. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like,
considering they've already fought before too, right?
Yeah, but also like, why not get, I don't know, like a rare X-Men villain or a rare something? I don't know, like, and nothing wrong with Titania per se, but she's just not big enough. Granted, they had to fill, is it 9 issues or 12 issues of Spider-Man? So granted, there was a lot to pick from, but I don't know. Maybe that's the problem, at least with this issue, is that it wasn't just an interesting enough character. And considering not much happened, and by the way, I gotta say, this whole subplot of her being hypnotized, kind of, because she's scared of Spider-Man, but then she's not, but then she is, but then she isn't. That is just a waste of space, in my opinion. Just cut that out.
I think it's also so crazy that they chose her, knowing that next month they would be bringing in the Hulk to fight Spider-Man.
Right.
So it's kind of like
redundant.
They're the same, like they have the same power set. So it feels weird that he's again just fighting an extremely strong person with nothing really else. So
and that's the thing. Well, that's the thing. You're right. There's no chance for a clever method to win or lose the fight. Like, she's just strong. If it was someone like, I don't know who, but maybe if it was like, I'm trying to think of a cool X-Men villain. I don't know who. Sunfire, let's just say. At least it's like, oh, well, my new cosmic powers have to go against this guy that can control heat or fire. At least maybe there could have been something clever there. Or, of course, I can't think of anything on the spot, but you get my point, right? Like, to face off against a power set he's never met before could have generated some interesting story ideas, but just being really strong is not really interesting enough. So anyway, obviously the art is the same as always, Alex Saviuk and Keith Williams. Since this is our last episode, I will say that Alex Saviuk goes on to draw Spider-Man for the next 12 years, or something like that. Like, he draws Web of Spider-Man for like another 50 issues. He does the daily strip, he does the Spider-Man Adventures animated adaptation. So yeah, Alex Saviuk is around for a while if you're a big fan of his art. So I guess the question is, do we recommend this comic book? Josh, do you recommend it?
Oh man, it's not awful by any means, but I think it's just, especially for this big event thing that they're talking about, it's not great. Like, it's just kind of whatever.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's also interesting to see Spidey having like new powers, but I wish we could kind of see him struggle to use them a little bit more, or like he can have some more things in his day-to-day life maybe that are like becoming a challenge because he's got these abilities that he doesn't know how to use yet. Kind of like what we see when he first gets his spider powers. So there's like a lot of interesting ideas, but I don't think at any point in this storyline are they like utilized well.
Yeah, I agree. G.I. Jolie, what do you think? Would you recommend this comic book?
No.
Oh, you're on mute.
Oh, you're muted.
I'm muted, but my voice recorder isn't.
Yeah.
No. No.
It's just a big dumb fight scene, eh?
It's not even. Yeah, it's not even a terribly interesting fight scene. You get this really great excuse of like, you know, Titania wearing a wrestling singlet and like, you know, being half naked from the belly button up. That's fine. Her breasts look great while they fight. Shout out to Titania's boobs. But that's it. That's all I can recommend this for.
One more thing I gotta say, the more I read about Thomas Fireheart, aka Puma, I really think he would make a great villain in a Spider-Man movie because he's so multifaceted. But anyway, I'm just going to leave it at that.
I thought you were going to say because he sucks. And I hate him.
So Becca, do you recommend this issue?
No. Yes. I am so torn because the whole Spider-Man getting these new cosmic powers is dope, and him dealing with it, and the greater power equals greater responsibility bit, that's super Spider-Man. That's right up Spider-Man's alley. Him talking to Mary Jane on the rooftop, that's great. Everything that has to do with the bad guys sending other bad guys to fight him sucks. Like,
Yeah.
and it's so unfortunate because this is like a really cool piece of Spider-Man history, is when, I don't know if I should spoil anything,
You might as well.
but when he gets the Enigma Force powers, this is sick. And like, there's a really good what if that came out of this, right? What if he keeps them? Because obviously he doesn't, spoiler alert, he doesn't keep them. But I could imagine you being a Spider-Man fan in the 80s, Mike, and Spider-Man gets these flight cosmic powers and you just being pissed about it.
Well, it's just that it just makes this whole Acts of Vengeance not interesting, because now the whole concept is what would happen if these other people fought Spider-Man, but it's not even really Spider-Man, it's Captain Universe, right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
But, you know.
Huh?
But, you know, what if he kept the powers, though?
Maybe that's more interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
No?
Just cut out all the Acts of Vengeance shit and just let him get the Enigma Force and Captain Universe powers and have him do that. And maybe Galactus shows up or somebody like... Does anyone worthy of... No, he fights like a Sentinel at the end, right? That's how this ends?
Yeah. It's almost like it's two different stories that don't match. It's almost like, what if it was Inferno, but it was on an asteroid? Well, that kind of defeats the purpose. Okay, anyway. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't go together. So anyway, yeah, it doesn't work.
So, like, maybe if we cut out all the villain shit, we have Spider-Man, he gets these cosmic powers, there is a cosmic level threat to the Earth, Spider-Man saves the day. You know, maybe that could have been cool. But that's all that happens.
Mm-hmm. So are
we
you going to
get
keep...
a cool-ass suit over it, so really, I can't. You read it. I recommend it all. Fuck
Are you
it.
going to keep reading Web of Spider-Man after the podcast is done?
Probably just to finish up I want to see how it ends.
Sure. Acts of Vengeance. All right. Josh, do you recommend this issue?
I don't know. Not really. It's fine. I don't hate it by any means, but you know.
Right. You know, like, I actually, when I sold my Web of Spider-Mans, when I was a kid, like, I got rid of them, and I think I kept everything up until the issue before Acts of Vengeance started. So that shows you how much I liked Acts of Vengeance. So anyway, we are going to now jump to the next issue. But before we do that, I have to give a quick little Spider-Cast trivia. Would any of our listeners care to guess?
Oh, them, not me.
Or
Cool.
would any of our co-hosts care to guess
Shit.
what Bex Luthor's first guest appearance was on our show?
Oh, wow.
Bruh, who knows? Wait, maybe I do know.
I think it would be after 10 for sure.
Was it the
Josh?
annual with Monica Rambeau?
What?
Is he even allowed to guess? Like,
Who?
Dude,
Josh?
I shouldn't be allowed to guess, but I
Yeah,
don't
I
know
you can
either.
guess.
I have no idea what it is, but I know.
G.I. Julie, you can also guess.
no. I
know-
can't even remember what I wore yesterday today.
Okay, just so you know, Becca, the Amazing Spider-Man annual was your second appearance, but your first appearance. You ready for this?
Yeah. What happened?
Episode number 13.
13.
Oh, Josh was so close.
Was
Lucky number 13.
we were reviewing Amazing Spider-Man 218, Peter Parker 56, and Marvel Team Up 107.
What happened in that one?
I have no idea.
What was Marvel Team Up 107? What was that?
I mean, are you asking me to go listen to the... I mean, I can click on it. Hold on a
Yeah,
second.
I'm just gonna Google it
Okay.
real quick.
Okay, hold on. I'll click on the link, and I will let our listeners know.
She-Hulk.
It
Don't
is...
remember that. Don't remember talking about that.
Yeah. Spider-Man and She-Hulk.
There you go. Okay, quick question. When was G.I. Jolie's first ever guest appearance?
Dude, I didn't study. Come on.
You have to guess.
I
G.I.
for
Julie.
sure don't know.
Episode 7.
Nope, it was actually after your first guest
Yeah, I was going to
appearance.
say it was...
Was it?
Uh-huh.
I guess
I'm
she
gonna
is a lot
say-
busier than me.
I'm going to say 21.
It was actually episode 30.
30.
Wow.
And I don't have the whole list here, but it was Amazing Spider-Man 234 plus whatever came out that month.
I held out for a very long time.
So, and then there's two more quick facts.
All right.
After
And then
a
I
few
just never went away.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was Amazing Spider-Man versus Will-o'-the-Wisp. Everyone remember him?
Yep. Of
Oh,
course.
That was
no.
my first one. And he was on the
That's
cover like this.
Yeah.
And you came back?
Unfortunately, yeah. Again and again and again.
Yeah, he was on the cover like that. How'd you remember that?
And then also,
pretty
so
fun
then
cover.
basically what happened was after a few sporadic appearances, Jolie joined the crew first, like permanently starting with episode 47, and Becca joined the crew permanently not until 73.
Oh,
That's
damn.
a long
wow.
time, and that's after more than a year. That's crazy.
What was I doing?
That's
I
a good
couldn't have been
question.
doing
I know, like
Literally
right before
anything.
Spider-Cast, I know. All these episodes you were not on. Isn't that weird?
Was I just at work?
It may be.
Yes.
I think around that time is when, the big thing happened.
Oh, COVID.
The
no,
big P.
It was actually
Yeah.
before
Oh, I
that.
was like, what? What did I do?
Yeah. No.
Nothing in my life changed at all from the
Okay, you want to
pandemic.
know something
So
crazy? No, Becca did not join until January 13th, 2021. That can't be right.
oh,
That was a year ago. No, that was 2 years ago. 2 years ago. But that
but like,
means
did I do like sporadic episodes?
just sporadic, like just
Yeah.
a few in between.
Well, January 2021, that was definitely like lockdown pandemic, right? That was the Christmas. Nobody. Yeah,
That's
I
true.
was not
yeah.
at work,
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, that's probably
and
probably
I
why.
was longing for human contact.
Aren't we all?
Somebody
Yeah.
talk to me about anything.
Sorry, I didn't
man.
mean to laugh that hard.
No, that's fine.
Trust
I
me.
know nobody wants to contact me. It's fine.
Why do you think I was doing 5 podcasts a week? You know, what I mean, that's the only human contact
Now
I
it's
had.
just 3.
Yeah, exactly. Paring it down. Okay, so anyway, there's more trivia to come, but right now we got to talk about more Spidey comics. So we're going to talk about Amazing Spider-Man number 327, and Becca, are you the one that's going to...
I got it.
All
Usually, right?
Yep. Go ahead, Bex.
So this one, it's got a sick cover with Spidey and Magneto, so that's cool. That's the right one, right? Not the whole
Yeah.
one's
That's
Yeah.
the right
next
one,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. We start off with Spider-Man is just making some molecular structures in his house with his new web powers, because that's what you do. And Mary Jane's just standing there like, well, this is going to be a pain to clean up. In just the most 90s of mom outfits. So, shout out to her. And then she has to tell Peter to stop whining so much about his life, because it's actually fine. Then we go quickly over to what everybody else, all of these villains during the X-Vengeance, they've been up to. I still love that the Kingpin is a part of this. Like, so useless. Like, what's he
Right.
gonna do? Fight Iron Man? Like, so then Magneto volunteers himself. He's like, you know what? You guys keep sending these losers. I'll kill Spider-Man. And then it turns out it's because Magneto believes that Spider-Man might be an actual mutant and not just a mutated person. So he wants to see for sure. So Peter and Mary Jane go visit Flash. They will go to watch him train, which is not something that I think you do. You go see people's like boxing matches, but you go watch him work out at the gym. And he has a girlfriend who is the absolute worst, which is going to be a theme for Flash Thompson for the next little bit, unfortunately for him. And then we go back to Magneto, and he's like, how do I find Spider-Man? So he just like goes to the park in the middle of the day and just like sits down on a bench. And he's like, don't worry, Spider-Man will come to me. Quick flash to Peter, and he's trying to figure out how he got these cosmic powers. So he goes back to the lab, and the professor who is using the lab is like, nah, you can't help me anymore, get out of here. So he goes to a junkyard and starts like smashing up cars to practice using his new abilities. And we get a cool little montage of that. Also, Mary Jane kisses a dude. She's acting, so it's fine. Quick interlude of Mary Jane's acting career in the middle of Peter's cosmic existential crisis. And then as Peter's doing, like, practicing his powers and stuff, he lifts up a giant, like, building or something, and then it continues to float away, and he's like, whoa, what's going on? And it's Magneto. It turns out the people have been filming Spider-Man destroying these cars. So Magneto just found him on the news, just come over. So they have a fun little bout, and obviously Magneto is the king of magnetism and uses his powers to try to defeat Spider-Man. Spider-Man's spider signal or spider sense is still going crazy. It's like way too overpowered. He's like super sensitive to it. It like senses everything. He even says at one point that like a moth flew over his head and he freaked out in his sleep last night. We get just a really long, interesting, not so much fight scene with him and Magneto where he throws a car at Magneto into like the water, and he's like, well, at least nobody's around. But then it turns out that the car that he threw just happened to hit a cruise ship in the middle of nowhere. So Spider-Man goes, he's like, oh, I gotta save these people, but how? If only I could fly. And now he can fly. And Magneto's like, well, definitely not a mutant, I guess, since he has so many different abilities. Even though, like, some mutants do have a lot of abilities. I don't know why. I think at this point, like, Rogue has, like, 15 different superpowers, right? So I don't know why Magneto would be like, Spider-Man can fly too? Not a mutant.
That statement is completely untrue, but we'll go back to that later.
Yeah, because then Magneto's like, well, all of my powers are derived from magnetism. It's like, yeah, all of Peter's powers are derived from, I don't know, wanting it enough? Like, so? How many things can Jean Grey frickin' do?
Right,
like,
exactly.
Storm has weather manipulation.
Wolverine, all of them, I know.
Yeah, Wolverine, he's got adamantium skeleton, healing, like, doesn't, whatever. Magneto doesn't know what he's talking about, as usual.
Sniffing.
So Peter then flies over to save these people on the cruise ship, and he does save them, and then he's like, well, better not fly home, because that's weird, and then cries in Mary Jane's arms for a bit. Our hero. And that's this issue. I thought more things happened. I forgot we read 2 issues. That issue sucks. Anyway, what'd you think? Jesus. Nothing happens in this.
Nope. G.I. Julie, what'd you think of this one?
I think that Magneto was in this one, and that was awesome, and that's literally it. Do you know what? I do have thoughts. It was kind of sad. I feel bad for Peter, because now he has all this guilt, like murder guilt, not just like regular responsibility guilt. It's like, ooh, my responsibilities have maybe led me to kill a bunch of people with this what is it, a car he threw?
Yeah,
into the middle of the ocean.
Right? How is he supposed to know? I don't know.
Yeah.
The human turmoil is palpable, and I feel this is the first time I feel like really strangely bad for Peter, even though he's been through like, manipulating and also guilting women into loving him, and maybe possibly children's deaths earlier. I feel really bad because it must have been a small cruise ship if the car was that big. And it killed a bunch of people?
Yeah, I think it was like, it looked like a small yacht or something, yeah.
Yeah. So, I feel bad for him because he potentially killed a bunch of people. However, he didn't really investigate how many people he could have killed. He
saved them all.
Yeah,
did he?
Yeah.
Yes.
I wish that 2 things I think could have made this better. If somebody was actually injured or harmed by his actions, like maybe there was like somebody on the ship that like took in too much water and they needed to be rushed to the hospital or have CPR or something, so there was like, we can actually see the kind of danger they were in.
Good point.
For me, I never bought that they were actually in any danger, because we see the car is sticking out of the yacht, and then immediately he's like, I guess I'll just fly over there now, and like, boom, new power unlocked, and he immediately saves the day. Like, it doesn't feel like there's like enough stakes. And
right.
I wish that Peter at this point is trying to like stop himself from using these powers. And when Magneto shows up, he just immediately starts using his powers. It would have been interesting if he started using his original power set and then Magneto crushes his web shooters with his magnetism because they're made out of metal. And then he's like now forced to use these new powers or die or to save civilians or something like that. So then he has
Here comes the spider. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Here comes the spider cast as low-key a pitch for Josh to do a re-up on Amazing.
Right. It's
also, we all know
a,
Dan Slott's currently on it.
Right? It's definitely easier to see the flaws in something though afterwards, right? So
true.
My job right now to like be like, oh, this would be better is a lot easier, I'm sure, than just writing a script. So, but yeah,
it's also made easier by the fact that like this is terrible.
Right. Yeah, I just wish that like we could see him doing the things that he's saying. So like him trying not to use his new powers against people because he doesn't know what they can do would have been cool to see. And people being in danger would have been nice to see too, because we do see a car sticking out of a boat, but again, I never really feel like it's that big of a deal. It also looks kind of like cartoonish and goofy when you see it, right? So it's like I didn't buy a lot of the things that Peter was saying in this because he's saying it rather than like the art or the story telling us what's happening.
Which brings us to the next point, which is the art, because as you've noticed, it's Erik Larsen. It's not Todd McFarlane. So this is the third actually guest art on Amazing since Todd McFarlane has come aboard. I'm not a huge fan of Erik Larsen's art. The biggest problem with him is just like Rob Liefeld, he has not really improved in 30 years. However, I will say that despite the fact that I don't really like him, at least he draws comic book style cartoony art. Like I'd rather look at this than hyper realistic current art, some of it anyway. And so I like the fact that when you're looking at it, it looks like a comic book, but sometimes his exaggerations are over the top. Like how big he draws Kingpin is ridiculous, I think.
I love it.
I mean,
I also love it.
It's fine for, I guess, comedic effect, but it just looks too over the top. And then Magneto's cape is like 5 times too long for his body, you know.
But it is sitting up on its own, which is also kind of like it's another character in itself.
Yeah, it's like McFarlane exaggerated everything, but now Erik Larsen's exaggerating the exaggeration. It's just like over the top. Mary Jane's hair is even bigger now. Spider-Man's eyes are bigger. So there's really almost no panel or page that stands out to me other than Digital 21 when it's the big close-up of Magneto's face and there's the panels in front of his face. That's the only page that looks really nice to me. Like the expression on Magneto's face is legitimately good, and like the way that Erik Larsen draws his mask is pretty cool. Other than that, I'm not a huge fan of most of it. But what were we going to say, Josh?
I like his faces better than McFarlane's. Or
really?
Better than... Yeah. I really do. I don't mind the big eyes, and it's just kind of like exaggerating the face. If you're going to make it stylized, then just go for it, is what I think. I think that this is way... is a huge improvement from last week's issue.
Are you dissing Colleen Doran?
No. Did we not talk about...
Because last week was Colleen
Erik
Doran.
Larsen?
The issue last week was Colleen Doran, and then Erik Larsen did like number 320 something with Sabretooth, remember? That was Erik Larsen.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I like it. I feel like it's a nice in-between of like kind of run-of-the-mill comic art and then McFarlane.
Okay.
I definitely like the way he draws MJ more. She looks like an actual human. The faces look like faces. The layouts and the paneling and the storytelling isn't as strong. that's really where he shines.
Right.
And it feels like at times he's trying to emulate that, but it's not as great of an effect as we normally get from Amazing.
Right.
But I actually quite enjoyed the art in this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you do like Erik Larsen, obviously he went on to draw Savage Dragon for like 300 issues almost, or whatever it's at now.
Wow.
And then before that, he did Doom Patrol. Before Grant Morrison rebooted Doom Patrol, Erik Larsen was drawing it, and it's slightly less McFarlane-esque art. It's a little bit more cartoony, but I actually kind of like that early Erik Larsen art better. So,
I think too, like this style fits with this wacky ass story that's going on.
True.
Like he's Spider-Man essentially becoming Superman, and Magneto swooping in, and all of these villains showing up. Like,
right.
I think it kind of goes with the theme of everything. So yeah, I enjoyed the art.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the question is, do we recommend this issue? G.I. Jolie, do you recommend it?
Yes. Magneto's in it. That's pretty fun. I'm just like big into like the X-Men crossover.
Yeah, I like it. Of course, yeah.
What else? You know me. I always love the side drama that's like, adjacent to the superhero shit stuff. If you want to see Flash Thompson in a ring wearing practically just like underwear too, that's also something I would recommend this for. That was fun. And I liked it. Like the cartoony style of the villains, they're cartoons, like
right
in the sense of their personalities.
Right.
It's literally where 3 of the most powerful men on the planet listen to a 4th, the wizard. I laughed out loud.
Yeah.
Like
that was funny.
Genius level scripting. Also, shout out to Erik Larsen making Magneto's cape a second character, because there's a panel where he's flying and they're like the vulture's wings.
Mm-hmm.
They stand up on their own. Anyway, yes, I recommend it.
Well, yeah, and I was going to say, at the end of the day, you're right. It's like, just accept that they're cartoon characters and draw them like freaking cartoon characters. Don't try to make them realistic or serious, right? Because they look ridiculous. Anyway, Bex Luthor, do you recommend this issue?
Especially if you're doing something like this. This doesn't require realism or seriousness at all, because obviously. Again, though, it is rather disappointing that it is just another fist fight. At the end of the day, it's just a big punching match, and then with some shooting bits at the end. I would love to see more of Peter figuring, like when he's in the junkyard, that's cool, but there's not a whole lot of time where Peter gets to develop these powers or figure out what that means or what's going on. He keeps getting villains thrown at him, which is kind of funny. But I don't know. I didn't like the art. I don't like the way Erik Larsen draws faces. Sorry, Josh.
That's fair.
They freak me. The eyes freak me out. I don't like them. Especially like on that first page with Peter and Mary Jane, and Peter takes his mask off and his eyes are anime boy, which is fine. It's just not for me. And the very obvious hyper-sexualization of MJ, as always.
Yeah. It's over. This is what I mean, is Erik Larsen and Rob Liefeld are now double downing on McFarlane's sexualization, right?
Here's the thing, though. Sorry. I was just going to say, at least her legs are proportionate-ish to her body. And I will give Erik Larsen credit. Her spine does not look broken in any panels.
Spider-Man's does, though.
A little bit, but he's Spider-Man. He's got cosmic powers, so I'll give him a pass for that one. Mary Jane's just a person. There is a real big gratuitous butt shot of her when she's like bending over seductively to sweep up some webbing.
Wait, where's that?
Yeah, sure.
Like page 3.
Page.
Yeah.
Oh.
3, sorry,
Yes, I see it. It's ridiculous.
Like, I don't know. You superheroes are so messy.
Yeah, I don't know what jeans she has that go in her butt crack like that, but that cannot be comfortable. And like all women, I too wear extremely high-heeled boots as I clean my house.
Yeah.
But besides, that, and like, I don't know. There's also like this girl that Flash is dating, and she's just like she's like, God, can you believe Flash and dating this bimbo who's just hitting on every guy? It's just like she didn't need to be in it. It's just like another excuse to draw boobs.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. At least Magneto's hot. Magneto's always a daddy, so that's good for him. Yeah, read it. Magneto's a daddy. Read it.
Okay.
Yeah, that stuff with him on the park bench where he's like, I'm just going to chill here until something comes to me. Like a solution. I was like...
Yeah, he does kick a woman with a baby off the bench, though.
That's what daddies
a woman
do.
with a mohawk and fishnets and a baby.
Who's like lamenting her chosen life as a housewife. Just, oh darn. This housewife gig is for the birds. Oh no, here comes Magneto. I better vacate this bench.
I better book it.
Jesus.
I do love, you know what? I changed my mind. I love this comic for just how casual Magneto in the park is.
It's ridiculous, but it works.
Yes, it does.
You know, I got to point out that, again, going back to, I measure things by, you know, whether I sold them or kept them. I sold the Erik Larsen Amazings years before I sold the McFarlane. So it did feel like a change in tone. Like it was just more silly, I think, when Erik Larsen was drawing it. So I don't know. I mean, it's okay, but definitely more, I think, juvenile. I mean, again, we're talking about a Spider-Man comic, but that's, you know, they can still be good, right? Anyway.
Yeah,
just because
sure.
it's for kids and juvenile doesn't mean it has to be bad.
Right, exactly.
There are so many kids shows that are fantastic and well written.
I agree.
And well animated and a whole mess of stuff. So there's no excuse. The excuse of old Spider-Man is for kids. That doesn't excuse bad content.
There you go. That's the final word. But it's not the final word because we have 2 more comics to review.
Jesus. Oh yeah, don't forget about this one.
Well, before we get into a comic book review, we got a quick trivia, a little bit of trivia here, folks.
Right.
The final list of our most popular and least popular episodes. Our least popular episode ever, and this has been 4 times in the running. Still, our least most popular episode is.
Oh, well, that's good that nothing else was worse than it.
That's true. That's true. Our least popular episode ever was episode 6, where we compare the X-Men cartoon depictions in Spider-Man cartoons.
That's so interesting, too.
I don't know why that one's not more interesting. Maybe we should repost it. I don't know, or something, right? Get some more attention for it. But anyway, we have a new champion, a new most popular episode ever, and that's number 108, in which we see the first appearance of the animated Blade, and that's with Michelle Kistner. So that's our most popular episode ever.
She does
cool?
have fans.
Yes, that's true. More than us, that's for sure.
Oh, wait, no,
that one's with Dustin. Sorry. Anyway, go ahead, Jolie.
Oh.
I was going to say, it's all of the Michelle haters who are like sitting there with their notebooks waiting to like make sure she slips up just so they can tell her. That's what that is.
100%. You're right.
That girl gets so much hate on the internet for just being smart and attractive and right. And knowing things.
I know the feeling. But anyway. No, you're right. Completely. Like, and it's not even an exaggeration to see when she posts like these conversations she has with these bros. Like, it is so embarrassing for them. These guys, like, it's ridiculous. It's just over the top, right?
She does own them all pretty hard, so I enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Because, like, God, men on the internet, what's going on? Why do you think you're so smart? You're not. You're not smart. As we've learned this last week, men on the internet, not smart. Easily played, easily toyed with.
I love it.
Easily,
by 19-year-old climate activists.
Yep. Exactly. Recycle pizza boxes, everybody.
Yep, I love it. Oh, anyway, we're dating ourselves, folks. Okay, I'm sure by the time this episode airs, there'll be something else happening in the news. Someone else getting owned, right?
Yeah, me probably. My life.
Also, in the last week or month, Elon Musk has lost $200 billion, so that's always good news.
The fact that he had $200 billion to lose is also really sad.
That is sad. Yeah. But hey, since he works so much harder than us, I'm sure he'll have no problem getting it all back. But anyway, Okay, now we're going to talk about Amazing Spider-Man number... Oh, no, we're not.
No, Spectacular.
We're going to talk about Spectacular Spider-Man. I'm sorry. Number 159, and this is my issue to summarize. So...
Yeah.
What are we going to say?
We've been waiting.
Okay. Anyway, okay, someone's in a rush to get out of here. Hold on a
I
sec.
got stuff to do.
Yeah, sure you do.
And by stuff, I mean
Stuff to do and
Stardew
Pokemon
Valley.
to catch.
Yeah.
I have to catch Cinderace in like an hour, so...
Okay, I'm going to go into extra detail in the summary then. Okay, so...
Thank you.
The cover copy reads, "Look, nothing can stop him now. He can fly. More powerful, more dangerous, more uncontrollable than ever before. Here comes the cosmic Spidey." But look at all this text. "But will all that power make a difference against the magical might of the Brothers Grimm?" Let's find out, folks.
Who? Yeah, probably. It'll probably work.
Yeah, I know, eh? So we start off this issue with a jailbreak. So the wizard, I love this. Not only is he breaking the Brothers Grimm out of jail, he has their costumes for them. Isn't that great? Isn't that nice of him?
Yeah.
So he breaks these two guys out of jail, and then he whips their costumes at them. And within 2 seconds, they've already costumed up. I love that. Don't you love superhero comics? Anyway, so then we cut over to Spider-Man in a classic Spidey pose, hanging upside down, contemplating. But the joke is that he's not hanging from a web. He just happens to be flying, and he's like in midair, like in front of the Twin Towers. So it's pretty cool. So he's kind of contemplating what's going on with his new powers. He's reminiscing about fighting the Trapster, Titania, Magneto, blah, blah, blah. And then he notices that something is like a little drone spy camera thing is recording him. He doesn't know what it is, so he destroys it. And he still doesn't know who's filming him, but we know that it's actually Dr. Doom who's studying him, right? But we don't know why yet. Or we don't know exactly what's going to come out of that yet because we haven't read that far ahead, other than Becca. Right?
Yeah. This is just vaguely what I remember.
It's not even worth a yes. It's just a ye. Anyway.
There's 2 E's in ye, though, so...
Okay. So anyway, so then we cut over to the new lawyer for... Not lawyer. He's a lawyer that's going to help out Joe Robertson get a presidential pardon for the crime that he committed.
Brother.
Yeah, Bruiser's older brother. For the crime that Joe Robertson committed like 20 years ago. And he's talking to Joe Robertson's current lawyer. And they're back and forth. And then we get this weird revelation that this lawyer has a crush on Nick Katzenberg. But...
Ew, girl, do better.
I know.
But
It's
also
kinda funny,
she
though.
found a multiversal photo of Nick Katzenberg when he was like 80 pounds overweight.
yeah. It's a cool little moment, though. It's like they didn't have to throw that in, but I like that. You know, it's a cool little moment.
He's also autographed the 8x10 she keeps in her purse.
Nikki. ...
Nikki.
I love
Spelled
that.
with an I and an E.
I think that they reference it in the last issue, right? Like the Katzenberg. The people of the Daily Bugle see Katzenberg with some photos of her.
Yeah,
right?
and they make fun of him. They're like, who's that girl? Ooh.
That might have actually been in Web when there's the meeting at the Bugle.
Yes, it is at the Bugle.
But
Excuse me.
yeah, we get a little continuation of that here.
I love it. So anyway, we cut over to Spidey swinging around at Empire State University, and he happens to notice J. Jonah Jameson lurking about, and he's like, what is going on? So they start chatting it up, and it turns out that JJJ wants to get back at Thomas Fireheart by starting a new magazine to compete with the Daily Bugle, and he wants to hire Peter Parker on, but he's already made it clear that, you know, he has to pay him at a reduced rate or reduced salary, blah, blah, blah. But then just at that moment, Spider-Man's extra powerful spider sense goes off. So Peter Parker leaves the scene, changes into Spidey, swings away, and then he comes across this stadium. It's actually Madison Square Garden being lifted into the air. And he's like, you gotta be kidding me. Don't tell me Graviton is back, right? But no, it's actually not Graviton. It is the Brothers Grimm. You know what's funny? I didn't do any research. What characters or what comic?
Iron Man.
Okay,
Yeah.
so these are Iron Man villains. Okay. And just
Yes.
so
They're Iron Man associates. I don't know what you call them villains. They're in there sometimes.
And just so the listeners know, these are twin brothers, Percy and Barton Grimes, and they both have the exact same costume, which is blue and red tights with a huge butterfly collar and skull faces, right? Mm-hmm. Other than that,
It's a
there's not
dope
much
look,
to them. Yeah, it's pretty cool. But I mean, Brothers Grimm, we all know them from the classic fairy tales, so that's kind of cool.
I thought you were saying the movie with what's his face?
Matt Damon.
That too, yep.
But
And so they do what any supervillain would do, and that's throw pies at Spider-Man.
And then say a poem.
Yep. 4 and 20 blackbirds baked in a pie. Switch the birds with dynamite and watch the people die. I don't know if that's the original from the Middle Ages,
original,
but
yeah.
is it? Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm. It's a direct translation.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. So
I don't think it's like that.
No? Okay. We'll have to look into that later. So anyway, yeah, so then they're attacking Spider-Man, they're throwing stuff at him, Spider-Man's rescuing passerbys, and they have this kind of like banter. Their banter reminds me of those two characters in Looney Tunes. I think they were chipmunks, but they weren't like the Disney chipmunks. They were totally different. But they had the same kind of almost like New England kind of accent, like always complimenting each other and talking about mother. And I'm not sure if this is like a trope. If this is based on an even older trope from like early, movies or vaudeville or something, but that's what it reminded me of. So I don't know. But anyway, so it kind of makes them a little bit interesting. So anyway, they throw this big giant piece of earth. Oh no, sorry, it's still the stadium at Spider-Man, but Spider-Man stops it with his webbing. And then they take off in like a puff of smoke, and then he chases after them. And there's still more fighting. He hits them with, what does he hit him with? Is that his web? I don't even know what hits them with his web, knocks them down. They're down and out. We see more of a drone camera filming him. He destroys that. We cut over. We see that it's Dr. Doom recording Spider-Man. We cut over to Peter Parker eating a TV dinner at home. And then he just says, his typical kind of like Spider-Man ending, I have powers I can't predict or command. My life is out of control and it frightens me. But hey, things could be worse. I could be Nick Katzenberg. Wah, wah, wah. The end. And that's the end of this issue. So, Josh, what'd you think of this one?
It stinks. It's really weird that they brought in shittier villains after he fought Magneto.
Right.
He easily disposes of these guys. The only real trouble that happens is people could be hurt by Madison Square Garden being lifted up into the sky, but even that is immediately kind of just swept under the rug. Spidey's oh, don't worry, I stopped it. Anyways, I guess I'll punch these dudes and then I'll be done. I'm gonna go home and eat. Yeah, I didn't really feel like anything happened, even though a literal football stadium was lifted into the sky.
No, nothing of note.
Yeah, even the stuff with JJ is it could have. I'm sure the next time they talk about this, they're gonna recap this JJ conversation that happened too. Nothing else changes. Dr. Doom doesn't even learn anything new. Right. By the end of this, it could have been interesting if maybe he's looking for a specific superpower to use against somebody else. So he's studying Spider-Man to see what abilities he has. And he's that's it. Flying or whatever. He can fly now. I can use that. Nothing changes by the end. So, and it wasn't fun either, right? I can excuse the status quo not changing if there's fun things happening and interesting story beats, but even that is nothing. So yeah, I didn't really enjoy this one. But I don't know about you, Jolie, Becca.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's absolutely terrible. Also, 4 and 20 Blackbirds is not a fairy tale. It's a nursery rhyme.
Right.
So-
This is different.
I said poem, so I was wrong both times.
But they're like, hey, we're the Brothers Grimm. We're not making magic. We tell fairy tales. And here's one of our favorites. Okay, cool. This superpower is actually hilariously awesome. And they didn't use any of it to potentially defeat Spider-Man.
Yeah, they can make anything from their suits. Like, that's what they do. It's matter production. Like, they can just make whatever they want from their suits, and they use it to make wacky, dumb fairy tale nursery rhyme gadgets.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun.
They could make, like, anything, but they make dynamite-filled pies, which Spider-Man dodges casually. It's like, okay, well, that foiled. And then Madison Square Gardens. It's not even like a superpower that they possess. They're using the wizard's anti-gravity pods to levitate it.
Right. Not to mention...
Don't forget... Oh, go ahead.
Not to mention, in another issue in this arc, they lift up a building and have it float through the city. Like...
Yeah.
I guess you guys both weren't on for that episode, but Graviton shows up and lifts up the entire Daily Bugle, and it's flying through New York. And Spider-Man has to go and stop him and save everybody in the Bugle. These two idiots do it again, but we don't even see anybody in the building or anything. You know what I mean? Like, there's there's no danger. Like, I'm sure the civilians underneath this thing as it's floating through, but we don't see any of that, so it doesn't feel like anything's at stake here.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, what can you say? That's what I mean. It's just there's nothing at stake. Spider-Man fights like 9 or 12 villains in Acts of Vengeance, and you never care about anything that happens, and the villains themselves are made out to be idiots. So what's really the point, right? There's never really any time where you think Spider-Man's in any danger, so I don't know. And now we also have to point out that these crossovers were forced on the writers, right? Like, it's not like Gerry Conway wanted to do this story. It was Marvel was like, this is the story you're going to do. So he kind of had to continue his Joe Robertson and Thomas Fireheart story and fit them into this bullshit crossover. So that's basically what this whole thing is. So
I can't
Did they
even
make him put the Brothers Grimm in?
yeah. Yeah. What were we going to say,
They
Jolie?
did.
What's that?
Go ahead, Jolie. Sorry.
Oh shoot! I was just gonna say, like, not even the Doctor Doom stuff is great. I was like, oh hey, Doctor Doom.
No, it's just it's
I
just
heard
more.
he's cool.
Yeah, cliches, right? And the thing is that you can make whatever excuse for this that you want. But again, going back to when I was 13, I was reading this and going, "Ooh, this is getting stupid. I'm not enjoying this as much anymore." You know what I mean? And like, if you have 2, 3, 4 stupid stories in a row, eventually your readers are going to stop buying, and that's what happened, at least with me, right? So,
And like, there's little gems in here that I really like. When Peter is like flying upside down, like he's on his web.
yes,
I love that.
That's
When
cool.
he says hi to the bird.
Right.
Like, you can tell that the writer still like he still knows what he's doing, but he's given this like stupid story, and he's like, all right, whatever. Brothers Grimm, yeah, sure. They throw pies at him, whatever.
Right.
And then you get like this serious stuff with Joe Robertson's lawyer and trying to get a presidential pardon and stuff, and it's like stuck between some just nonsense.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
So-
not a great one. I feel like it might have even been more fun if it wasn't in this Acts of Vengeance story and we didn't have Spidey like extremely superpowered. This idea of Madison Square Garden floating and even Brothers Grimm seemed kind of like a good matchup for Spider-Man, but not Spider-Man with all of these ridiculous powers. Like, he could have easily just taken them out like right at the start. And it's weird that they pretend like he's struggling with like the gas around his face and not being able to find them and all that. So, I don't know. Not great.
So yeah, I can just point out that I actually do plan to keep reading Spectacular after the podcast is done, strictly for Sal Buscema's art because I love our pal Sal. But anyway, other than that, Josh, do you recommend this issue?
No, I definitely don't recommend this one. Even if you are reading The Acts of Vengeance, you could probably skip this one and still be completely fine with everything. Like this is nothing.
Right. G.I. Jolie, do you recommend it?
Nope.
All right. Bex Luthor, do you recommend it?
Yeah, there were pies, and I like pie. So.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't think about the pies.
And there was birds.
There were birds too.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
seagull.
Less
There's
excited about the birds, to be honest.
Spider-Man does say hello to a bird, and that's pretty fire.
It all
No,
happens within the
I
first
don't.
5 pages, so just the first 5
Yeah,
pages.
so just read the first 5 pages.
Yeah.
Like, when the Brothers Grimm, if they do show back up, because very intricate part of the Acts of Vengeance, it's not like you're going to need an introduction to them. They don't give an introduction to them here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if Doctor Doom's going to be like the overarching bad guy in the Spider-Man related plot where he's like trying to take Spider-Man's powers, that should have been the plot. But let's send freaking Brothers Grimm after Spider-Man. Who do they send? Paste Pot Pete earlier, like a couple issues back. They sent him, right? Like,
Or like,
cool.
Dr. Doom is studying
Sick.
him, right? So why not send supervillains to counter his new powers as he gets new ones? Right? Like, he's fighting somebody and then he gets the ability to fly, and because Dr. Doom is spying on him, he can send somebody who can now fly and outmatch Spidey with his new powers that he could fly, and then he can make items turn into different materials. He could like change their like
Right.
the literal like DNA of whatever he touches. Okay, we can send this mutant now to go fight him. Like, not even that happens. So it's even weird that Dr. Doom is watching him through all this, and we're constantly cutting back to him, studying him. And he's still
hard
sending
to be like,
stupid idiots to fight him.
it's hard to be like, oh, Doctor Doom, the smartest, most evilest man in the universe, and he's just a dumbass the whole time.
Yeah.
Exactly. So for those of you that are keeping track, Sal Buscema continues on as the artist for this comic until issue 218. Okay, for those that are keeping track, and I plan to read every issue. So anyway, this issue was okay, not great, but yeah, you can still read it just for the Sal Buscema art. So we are done December 1989, but we decided to go one extra issue into January of 1990 just because it's Todd McFarlane's last issue, right? So we thought we'd talk about that. So, but wait a minute, before we get to that, there's one little bit of trivia we have to talk about. We have to list the top 5 guests of all time and how many episodes they've appeared on. Okay, so tied, well, there's 5 of them, but actually tied for number 3 with 5 appearances each. One of them would have appeared 6 times, but they had the day wrong. So tied at 5 appearances each, Adam Pelche, Kevin Jank, and Cousin Brandon. Okay? Number 2 guest of all time with 6 appearances, Erica Rock. Thank you for joining us, Erica, one of our favorite guests. Every time she comes on, she comments that she doesn't know why we invite her because she doesn't know how to operate her phone or audio recorder. We think she's great. We can't wait to have her on again in our next podcast. And does anyone have any guesses of who the number 1 guest of all time is in number of appearances?
Andrew Helmer?
Andrew Helmer with 7 appearances. Thank you for joining us, Andrew.
I was going to be like, I don't remember anyone's name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. So yeah, that's actually the end of our trivia. So now we've just got
can
one
get
more.
back to business.
Yes, back to business. Amazing Spider-Man 328, Todd McFarlane's last issue of Amazing. So I guess Bex Luthor, you're gonna tell us what happens in this one, right?
Yeah, if you want me to give the rundown of the last issue of the Spider-Cast?
Sure. Yes, please.
You're like, now that you said it like that, I don't know. No, I don't want to do that. Unfortunately for this comic, it has one of the coolest covers.
Yeah.
Big old gray Hulk, Spidey smashing him. It's downhill from here. So we start off with the Hulk, and he's Grey Hulk right now. He's kind of got a werewolf thing going on where he's Bruce Banner during the day and the Hulk at night. I don't know much about the Hulk at this time, so
and they're
I don't
like
really know what's
split.
going on.
So like normally Bruce and Hulk are kind of like in the brain together, but now they're like separated. So at night, Bruce Banner's almost like pushed out, and it's just the Hulk thinking, and then it's vice versa in the morning.
And yeah, he's intelligent and he hates Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
Which, fair. Don't we all? So he's sitting wherever they are, in Moonlit Mesa and the Nevada desert. He's sitting there being upset and wishing that everyone would leave him alone. And who shows up but, everybody's favorite X-Men villain, Sebastian Shaw. Yay, he's here now.
I like him, but he doesn't do much,
Okay.
but yeah.
Why does he
doesn't
wear
do much.
old-timey like Shakespeare pants with the like
Because
super long
he's part
socks?
of an exclusive club
Yes.
Okay.
of
The Hellfire Club
dickheads.
is like they all wear, well, not fetish gear. What would you call that? I mean, technically that's
Fetish gear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where Emma Frost comes from. Like she's the same
Yeah.
thing,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
They were all in their bondagey outfits.
I just never
Right.
got this like old-timey.
Mm-hmm.
It's because if he wore a leather daddy outfit, everyone would throw up and run away. So he's like, okay, more layers. Got it.
It's like a ruff and lace sleeves, bell sleeves. Underneath
Of course.
my magenta, like, smoking jacket, which is obviously suede.
Oh, yeah, it's gotta be. This is the kind of guy who wears a 3-piece suit of all different materials, so you know how wealthy he is. Even though that stopped being a thing, like, 400 years ago.
And it's like pseudo Victorian, so you know that he knows fashion. So that's
Yeah.
it.
Anyway, he's here now in his little helicopter, and it turns out that Magneto has sent him to kill Spider-Man.
He can do it on his own.
But he's smart, and he's like, this is obviously a trick. So for some reason, he pays the Hulk to fight Spider-Man. And the Hulk's like, money? I love money. And again, don't know what's going on with the Hulk in this current timeline, but that seems odd to me.
He's in his
just
Mr.
complaining
Big.
about wanting-
I think he's
Mr.
in his
Fix-It.
Mr. Big or Mr. Fix-It. Yeah, where he's like,
Like a
running.
gangster.
Yeah.
To
He's
be
like a
fair, it
casino
is
guy.
a good time to be reading Hulk. But anyway.
Okay. I just don't know anything about it, so I'm just like, all right. He's like, money? Well, don't worry, I'll kill Spider-Man for money. It's just... So Sebastian takes him on his helicopter and drops him in New York. Meanwhile, Spidey's on the Statue of Liberty, just lamenting of his new powers, as one does when they learn that they can fly. And then he sees a group of terrorists, I guess, attacking
Right.
some people in the Statue of Liberty, because, that's just how it is. And so he uses his new powers and his old powers, and he attacks the terrorists, and he turns their giant bomb into a different material.
Adamantium.
Sure.
Is that really what it is?
Yeah.
Oh,
Is
God.
it?
Yeah, he turned it into
Oh, yeah, he does
adamantium.
turn-
Yep.
And then he just leaves it there for somebody else to pick up. And then he's like, don't worry, the SWAT team will handle this, and he flies away. Flies back home to Mary Jane, and they go to dinner with Flash Thompson, who has a new girlfriend, who also sucks. But she sucks in a different way. Whereas the other girl was hitting on every guy in sight. This woman is just terrible.
Yeah.
So she complains about the food, and then that dinner ends quickly, and Peter and Mary Jane are getting the hell out of there. But Mary Jane has a shoot, so Peter goes with her to go, watch her act, I guess. That's fun. And then he sees the Hulk jump out of a helicopter in the middle of New York to the ground, and he goes, well, better deal with that, I guess, And so the Hulk's like, I'll just start random destruction. That'll get Spider-Man's attention, and it does. And then they start punching each other again. I guess. Sorry, I'm trying to remember what happens, but like that's what happened.
Yeah, pretty much. I think the Hulk, Peter's like, what are you doing here? Hulk's like, well, I was paid to beat you up, so that's what I'm going to do. And then they punch each other like twice, and then the Hulk's like, oh shit, I'm turning into Bruce Banner again. I better run.
Right.
So then he just runs away immediately after starting the fight. So then Peter goes back to his like normal life, and they see what's going on in the Bugle, and
oh right, and then Hulk is like, I'll meet you at this place at this time tomorrow. And Peter's like, all right, I guess.
yeah.
So then he flies to that abandoned Roosevelt Island, which has apparently nobody on it except for 2 children.
Who are smoking their mother's cigarettes.
Cigarette butts. They stole her cigarette butts that she kept. Yeah, so don't smoke, kids, I guess, is the message. So then Spidey and the Hulk start fighting again, but then there's these 2 children, and they come out and they start attacking the Hulk
with sticks.
Because Spidey's from New York, and you don't mess with New York.
Yeah.
I guess.
That's right, because you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us.
Exactly. What else did we learn from Spider-Man 1? And the Hulk, in his head, he's like, oh, I'm going to make it look like I'm going to hit these kids so that, you know, to scare him off. But then Peter's like, he's going to hit those kids. So, obviously, hits him with a big old punch and punches him into space.
Yep.
I scrolled down, I was like, right, he punches him into space. That's what happens. I forgot. So he punches the Hulk into space, and the Hulk's just floating in 0 gravity and lamenting about his life and being like, well, I guess this is how I die. Because eventually I'll turn back into Bruce Banner and die up here. So Peter flies into space. And grabs the Hulk and throws him back down to Earth.
Uh-huh.
And the Hulk's like, what, you want thanks for saving my life, even though you endangered my life? Well, thanks a bunch. I'm not going to kill you now. Bye-bye. And jumps off. And then it's just Peter and Mary Jane. Peter going like, man, these new powers suck. I almost killed the Hulk. And that's it. That's the last issue we're reading on the podcast.
There you go. Yep. Out with a bang.
That was the 80s, everybody.
Yeah. More of a...
Here's the thing. Yeah. You know, it's like Todd McFarlane, again, at this time was the most popular artist in the industry. And he knew this was his last issue. And it's cool that they brought back the Hulk, because that's what made him a superstar in the first place, right? Was doing the Hulk. So that was nice. But other than that, this issue just fizzles out. It barely has an ending, right? I don't know. It just feels like they could have put a little bit more effort into it, knowing that it was his last issue. Now, granted, he does come back and do Spider-Man,
in a couple of months, right?
Spider-Man. No, in like a year. But he didn't know that at the time. He really just took time off and thought, I'm just going to hang out with my wife and my new kid. So he does end up becoming even more popular when he does Spider-Man, writing and drawing Spider-Man, then doing Spawn, co-founding Image Comics. But at this time, he kind of just left at the peak of his early popularity. So it was a really weird move. And
well, it comes out August 1990. So it was only a couple of months until from January 90 to August 1990.
That can't be right, is it?
Yeah. Spider-Man number 1, August 1990.
Bitch. See, because I do remember when he left, maybe it just wasn't public, but no one knew that it was coming because there was no internet, right? Mm-hmm. So when he left Amazing, and I remember them doing an interview with him, and they're like, okay, so you've left Amazing, what are you going to do now? Oh, he's like, I'm just going to do covers for Marvel Tales. But it definitely wasn't public for a few months, so no one knew that this was coming. But yeah, I guess you're right. It was probably already planned then. Okay. But anyway, so yeah, last issue of Amazing Spider-Man by Todd McFarlane. G.I. Julie, what do you think?
I thought the art was amazing.
Okay.
I really like this Hulk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything we talked about Erik Larsen sort of aping Todd McFarlane in the last. It's like clear from what Josh said that it's the storytelling and the layouts are weak because he doesn't understand why he's doing it. Mm-hmm. He's just taking the thick borders and the no borders and the peeking out of borders, and he's just doing it where he thinks it visually looks the best. He doesn't actually understand why Todd McFarlane is doing what he's doing.
Right.
In the panels. So it just comes off as like, you know, just visual.
Yeah.
They're just visual entities, and it like doesn't work with the art. He should have just been like, well, I'm Erik Larsen, I don't do that. Like, he should have just done nothing. Unless he was instructed to do it by the editor, just to keep the art consistent, which is also a dumb move. Because he does so much here. That like, I don't usually like Todd McFarlane's work, but the panels where he's flying over Manhattan are... I never thought I would say that about Spider-Man. But the panels where he's flying over Manhattan and then where he's using his new close-up vision, when he sees the Hulk jumping out of a helicopter, I'm like, this is really cool.
Yeah. It's great.
I usually hate it, but it's cool.
It's really great to see him back. His layouts and his storytelling is fantastic. But I think after reading the previous Amazing, you can really start to see some of the flaws in his work. And I almost want somebody like Erik Larsen maybe doing the cleanup to Todd McFarlane's art, because the storytelling is unmatched in anything we've read on the podcast, in my opinion. But the art is just not great at times. And you can clearly see it. Like, Spider-Man's hand looks like an alien hand in almost every single panel that it's drawn. He's so bad at drawing faces. And I noticed as well in this one that often he will either hide the face in the panel or he'll draw a hand in the foreground covering up the face. So we see the Hulk doing that, where it's like a big hand in the foreground and just his eyes appearing in between the fingers. And then at the end, we have what's his name doing the same thing. It's like this hand in the foreground, the very last panel, and we just see like an eye behind. And it's just like the rest of the face isn't even drawn. So if you were to like draw the rest of the face behind the eye, it doesn't make any sense. Like, there's no face behind it. And you don't really get that in Erik Larsen's. I find, like, when a face is drawn, it's drawn, whether you like it or not. It's like the style or whatever. It's done. But I feel like Erik Larsen doesn't have as much of a grasp on the storytelling as Todd McFarlane. Like, it's almost as if Todd McFarlane is the one who wrote this, like, because of how well executed the storytelling is in the panels. Like, you could almost have him just draw a comic and then you can write around it because you can clearly see exactly what's happening. So it's kind of like finding a balance between the storytelling and then the actual, like, art itself. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I agree with everything you said, except I don't see any evidence that McFarlane is trying to cover up his faces. If there are cases where he has a hand in front of a face, it's strictly for dramatic effect. Like, I don't think he's avoiding or afraid of drawing faces at all.
You think so? Because even in like the some of the panels, they're like super skinny, and he'll just draw an eye and like half of a smile.
That's true, but that's just for dramatic effect. But look at how, if you flip through the page the issue really quickly, you can see face after face after face. Like Sebastian Shaw, 3 panels in a row have his full face. And then a couple pages later, you see soldiers' faces. You see the girl's face. I mean, I think it's just a matter of his weakness is not faces. It's that he doesn't draw through. So if he draws an eyeball, he draws the eyeball, but he doesn't draw the rest of the face to make sure that the mouth is at the right position, right? He just draws that big eyeball and then the face and then the mouth, but it doesn't actually line up with where it should be. But it's not a problem with faces. I think it's just a problem with drawing through, no matter what it may be.
At times, I 100% agree with you. Like when Hulk is angry and then Spider-Man comes over and punches him and shoots him up into space. We get that close up of that really tall, skinny panel of his angry face. And then later we get a super close up of his eye as he's like worried like that. I agree with you. That is 100% storytelling. But there are moments like earlier on when they're at they're all sitting around the dinner table having a dinner. Why do we need like a super close up of MJ's eye in that moment where she's like, I mean, we'd love to, but I have like, she's not saying anything where there's a need to like punch into her face for this dramatic effect where she's kind of just like talking casually at dinner.
Well, yeah, but I think it's more just, it's laziness, but it's not because, it's not necessarily because he doesn't want to draw a face. It's just because it's like, if you look at the page, it's like reverse shot, straight on shot, big close up. If you look at every page, almost every page has a giant close up of something, especially eyes, right? So I think it's just a what's it called? Cutting corners kind of trick. But I don't know. I mean, I think he's just as bad at drawing bodies, like, again, we've always said he's great at drawing Spider-Man swinging through the city, but then show a shot of Bruce Banner walking in his jeans and it just looks like a scribble. Yeah. Like, it doesn't even look like it's drawn by a professional artist. So I think he's cutting the same corners, but I agree with what Jolie said. Like, it's a nice, refreshing, like, it's refreshing to see him again after Erik Larsen because I think he is so much better. Yeah. But Bex Luthor. Yeah. Have you said anything yet?
Probably not.
Okay. So what do you think of this? Let's talk about the art, especially Todd McFarlane's art in this issue.
Unfortunately, the only panel I like is when Spidey is like crouched in the Statue of Liberty and about to attack those terrorists. Okay. The rest of it, I like, besides like the panel work, which I always like for Todd McFarlane, the rest of it, I'm not very intrigued. The faces, man, are just so bad, and there's a lot of them in this one. Like, that woman, I don't know why she looks like a crow, but
Flash's girlfriend,
I guess. Yeah. It's just, I don't really like the way that the Hulk looks. He looks smushed a lot of the time. And then again, nothing happens in this one, right? He punches the Hulk into space and then punches him back, and he's like, well, I guess I am strong.
It's so anticlimactic. I'll agree with you there. So, and then the Hulk basically is like, I won't kill you, and leaves. That's the end. Like, not a... Yeah,
it's
no story.
Like, no motivation for the Hulk to, like, sure, money, okay, go. And then no motivation for him to stop fighting Spider-Man, because, like, I feel like once you're back on Earth, you're like, all right, like, let's, I don't, it's just, yeah, it seems like it's, and it's the last, like, page of the comic, too, right? The second last page. That's such a rushed ending. They're like, oh, better tie this up and move on to the next bad guy Spider-Man has to fight in the next issue. Like, yeah, this kind of blows. This is kind of like a rough way to end the podcast, eh? And it sucks so much, because Cosmic Spider-Man is dope.
And the Hulk holding his breath in outer space is adorable.
I love it. Yeah, it's a good idea, and it looks good. Yeah. And you know what? Again, I love Sal Buscema and I love Alex Saviuk, but that's a detail they would not have drawn in, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of small details. I griped a lot about the art at the beginning of talking about this one, but there's also these moments that are just like small details that connect it through. Like on the first page, we're set up that the Hulk is going to be in this one, and he's in Nevada, and we see him smashing the ground. And what's in the background but a giant moon? And it's throughout all of these shots. And then at the end of the issue, he's literally punched into outer space, floating alongside the moon. Like, it's just these like small little moments that are thought of at the beginning, and you can clearly tell that every single one of these panels was thought out and planned. Like, it wasn't drawn and, you know, as we're going page by page, we'll figure it out as we go. Like, this is for sure planned out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's interesting because I just read something where someone was saying that George Perez didn't plan anything out when he was drawing. He would start on page 1 and just start drawing. I don't think Jack Kirby planned out his issues. I definitely know Jim Lee didn't, because Jim Lee would draw until he got to the last page and be like, oh my God, I have like 5 scenes to do. And he'd you know, cram them all in. But like something like Watchmen is planned out from page 1, panel 1 to the very, very last panel. So ideally, that's how you want to do a comic, right? And like you said, if you know that it's the Hulk is at this point is not powered by the moon, but he only comes out at night. You're right. You want to kind of stick that in there, like have the moon show, you know, and have it kind of constantly be coming back as something in the background to kind of remind you that that's when he turns into the Grey Hulk. So yeah, it's just smarter. I
wonder why too. I wonder if the reason why some panels look so sketchy and rushed and unfinished is because they are possibly his like storyboards, I guess, like his doodles planning out what's going to happen in each issue. And after spending so much time planning everything out, sometimes those rough sketches just become the like he just draws over his rough sketches to get the panels done or the pages done after, you know, obviously the long process of planning everything out and figuring out what's going to be happening in the issue.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess that wraps up this podcast.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So
Jesus.
I guess to wrap things up with this, it was nice seeing him come back. The issue itself is kind of a letdown. The story doesn't connect at all into anything, like into what's happening right now. It could have been anybody that came to fight Spider-Man that could survive, I guess, the vacuum of space. But it kind of makes me want to go back and read the Spider-Man comic and start from there. Those were some of my first comics I've ever read, so it does get me interested in that, and it reminds me why I even love Spider-Man to begin with. So,
right,
yeah. While I might not recognize this, recommend this issue, it's a fun reminder of why I love Spider-Man.
G.I. Jolie, is this a fun reminder of why you love Spider-Man?
I will say that after how many episodes? 1 billion?
176.
I certainly don't love him more. But
okay.
I like 100% hate him less.
Okay.
Very zen. Very zen.
Interesting.
Using double negative languages. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had to really think about that.
Okay.
It's forced me to read Spider-Man comics. Like, literally every Spider-Man comic between 1983 and 1990. So,
glad to be of service.
Thank you. Because that's one of those things that, like, you tell yourself you want to do as a completist. Like, I have always been meaning to go back and read all the X-Men comics, which is never going to happen.
I don't think there's enough time.
Unless we start a podcast about it. But anyway.
Do you know how many crossovers the X-Men have in the 80s?
I know.
If
Mike's like, yeah, let me show you.
If we did an X-Men podcast, I would just take myself out back and shoot myself. No, I wouldn't do that. I would start and then not finish it, like the other podcast I did. It's a lot. It's a lot. I'm glad that I did it. I'm not upset that I did it. So, and I got to spend time with you guys and read comics.
Yeah, it's been pretty fun.
So you don't not hate us more. Is that what you're trying to say? Or is it less? I can't remember.
I love you more and hate you less.
Okay.
Don't not hate us less?
You don't not hate us less.
I don't hate you at all.
Okay. All right.
And I definitely love you more. So.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bex Luthor, on the other hand, might be a different story.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know what's going on. Repeat the question.
I don't know where we're at. We kind of went in circles there, but I think we're still talking about Spider-Man, or maybe we're talking about us or the podcast, or I don't know.
I'll talk about us all day. I didn't learn anything.
On this
All right.
176 episodes?
Yeah, I came into this liking Spider-Man, and I still do.
Oh, okay. I guess that's good.
I learned that I dislike certain people who've written or drawn Spider-Man in the last 10 years.
Right.
Man. No, I'm sorry. I don't have anything to take from this.
Crickets. Okay.
It did take. It was something to do that was fun,
Mm-hmm.
and it got me talking to human beings at least once a week, which is good. 'Cause sometimes I don't do that enough.
Yeah, it's been super fun.
I'm like so off guard. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, no, it's been super fun. I'm really happy to have had this opportunity and to be able to do it with you guys. This is like the first thing I've really done as part of the Comic Book Syndicate. Before this, I was just kind of like a guest that had shown up for a couple of like movie reviews.
Same.
So it was really cool kind of going from like watching videos of the Comic Book Syndicate to kind of like being a part of it. And it was really fun to be able to do this over the past couple of years and to do it with Spider-Man. Like to see reading all of these Spidey comics was, it made it that much more enjoyable. So really happy we got to do this. And I also want to like give a shout out to Mike for planning all of this. Every single episode edited, planned by Mike. All of our special guests were brought on, because of Mike. He's really the mastermind behind this. I'm only the co-host because I've shown up to every episode.
I think you've only missed one episode.
I've missed one. Yeah. I can't remember what happened. Maybe I was sick or maybe like a family emergency or something. Yeah. I think it was a family emergency. So, yeah. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, no problem. I don't
even think I knew Josh really well before this.
I think before Spider-Cast, you'd only talked to Josh twice.
Yeah, if that, I think we
did the Spider-Man review, and then before that, we saw each other
when we both came out of Toy Story 4.
Right.
Yeah,
separately,
rolling. We both ended up in the same theater, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we invited you to see Bloodshot. And
that's right.
Right.
You wanted to stay friends with them after that.
Right.
And then you wanted to stay friends with us after that.
Well, I have had so much fun the last 2.5 years. I remember, I think at first it was like, we didn't know, are we going to do Batman or Superman or X-Men? And I think, Josh, you were the one that said, well, I'm interested in Spider-Man, so let's do Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. And as everyone knows, I have boxes and boxes of Spider-Man comics, and I have the list to prove it. So thank you for making my obsession, something entertaining, I guess. I definitely am glad that, even though it started with just me and Josh, as we saw over time, G.I. Jolie and Bex Luthor are both joined as regular hosts. So it's been a lot of fun, especially during the pandemic. Just like Bex Luthor, if I wouldn't have had this podcast during the pandemic, I wouldn't have talked to any humans other than my boss. And if you know my boss, you know that is just no fun at all.
That's not a human.
Right? So this has definitely been a great time. I've enjoyed every minute of it. I also learned a lot about Spidey. Even though I already loved Spider-Man, now I love him even more because I got to read all those early 80s comics that I never read before. And I'm glad that we got to have some really, interesting and in-depth discussions about Spider-Man and Spider-Man comics and all that fun stuff. So yeah, thank you all of you for joining me on this journey.
You guys, that was so nice. What I said was stupid.
It's okay. That's why you're here, though. That's what you're...
To say things that are stupid. You are correct. I know my place.
No, you're the...
everybody good night.
What's the word? Not the cynic, but the... not the comic relief. What word am I looking for here? You're the devil's advocate, kind of, right?
I was going to say the putz.
No.
The other one?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we're all kind of putzes. We're on a Spider-Man podcast. Like, let's be real.
Yep.
No,
Yeah, but you guys are like, actually know what you're talking about, and I'm just like, look at Spider-Man's butt.
Let's do a butt tally.
Yeah.
What happened to the butt
Like,
tally?
Josh are talking about, like, the creators, like, what they were going through at the time they were writing this, and Julie and I are like, look at his butt.
You see it 3 times in this one.
Yeah, oh my god.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. Well, I guess for the
Sorry.
last time, I'd like to thank you guys for listening to the podcast. Please leave us your final reviews of the final issues of the Spider-Man comics we've been reading. You can find us at thecomicbooksyndicate.com. You can also find us on Facebook, not on Twitter, and YouTube at the Comic Book Syndicate. Please let us know what you guys think about what we're doing. Let's keep that comics conversation going.
That's right, and stay tuned because coming up soon, we'll be launching 3 new podcasts on the Comic Book Syndicate
That's right.
YouTube website, and Instagram, Stitcher, and Apple Podcast channels. So keep your eyes peeled for those. And for the last time ever, Spider Friends, go for it!